Well, Big Pharma has paid Magic Johnson to tell you that RSV is a big problem, but don't worry because the FDA has now rolled out the first vaccine for RSV.
I make my health a priority, and I'm passionate about inspiring others to do the same. I've teamed up with GSK to help bring education and awareness around a common contagious virus called RSV. Understanding how to help protect yourself against this virus is important, especially for older adults who are at an increased risk for severe infection. My mission in life is to empower older adults to be their own health advocates by putting their health first. Know your risk to help sideline RSV.
All right, this commercial has already rolled out. Maybe you've seen it if you've been watching basketball games or things like that. Why did they need a big star to do this? You know, they didn't need a big star to tell us that COVID was a problem. We knew that, right? Because 3 vaccine makers are competing to release an RSV vaccine this year, which they estimate could make them between $15 and $17 billion per year. RSV is a respiratory virus. Moderna, Bavarian Nordic, and GlaxoSmithKline are working on their own RSV vaccines. And GlaxoSmithKline is the sponsor of the Magic Johnson ad. Now, the Pfizer vaccine that was just approved for use this week is only for adults age 60 and over. And they're working on a separate vaccine for pregnant women in order to protect babies from RSV. Now, this is something that I understand acutely because my daughter Ava, here's a picture of her when she was 6 months old. She had RSV and she was hospitalized for 4 days in 2012. Look how teeny she is, and that little oxygen monitor on her toe. Yeah, if you've ever...
It was awful.
Yeah, it was awful. And so, anyway, get a little choked up about it. RSV is very serious for babies because it inflates their already tiny air passages, and so it can severely restrict their oxygen levels, and that's really dangerous. So had I known that I would have a baby that has RSV and that she would be hospitalized, would I have taken the vaccine when I was pregnant with her? Well, I don't know if I would have if I had seen this.
Later in the 3rd trimester is when it seemed to have the best efficacy, as well as strongest protection up to 30 days versus after that. Now, Pfizer is competing with GlaxoSmithKline for RSV vaccines. We did note specifically that GSK actually dropped out or paused their phase 3 because of certain safety signals, which you can see, of course, indicated in those votes there, specifically on preterm births. Pfizer noted 5.6% in their vaccine group versus 4.7% in placebo. GlaxoSmithKline noted 6.8% in their vaccine group versus 4.9% in placebo. So the placebo numbers are pretty close. They also do have some similar indications. One major difference is that GlaxoSmithKline's group also had neonatal deaths reported. So that was a significant safety signal as well. That's what started that pause. So,
okay. So she goes on to sort of excuse it, like, but they're still going to keep trying. So between 5 and 7% of preterm birth, which is bad for the baby, and a risk of neonatal deaths. So if I had it to do again, if I got the vaccine in my 3rd trimester and risk death or risk my baby later coming down with RSV. Now, later she says that the best, or actually in the beginning of that clip, she says the best efficacy for this vaccine lasts 30 days. So you have to take it right before you give birth to help your baby, and it only helps for 30 days.
And your baby could die.
And you and your baby could die.
You and your baby could die.
So by this measure, it would not have helped our Ava Bean at 6 months with RSV, right? No. It only would have prevented her from having RSV as a newborn, which is not nothing, right? It's significant, but they're not giving us data that newborns are dying in droves of RSV.
Right, that's my point. But also, how can they say that it in fact actually does prevent, like in 100% of the cases?
They can't say that because they haven't been able to test subsequently born babies, given that they're just putting it on the mom, right? So they need to be able to tell us that if the mom takes it, the baby has a lower chance of RSV, but babies don't contract RSV at high rates. When they do, it's serious. I know this firsthand, but they don't contract that at high rates in the first place. So how do they know, right? And again, given this risk of preterm birth, which is really bad for the baby, and also neonatal deaths, how can you then square those numbers? Well, let's look at how they squared the numbers for the vaccine that's on the market. The pregnancy one, not yet approved. It's being voted on, although in pre-votes, it was voted 14-0 yes. They're like, yeah, sure, killed some moms. No big deal.
People in the chat are saying, did you take the RSV vaccine? The answer is no.
It was not available at the time.
It's now being available right now. And no, she didn't.
My daughter now is 11.
Yeah.
So I'm saying at the time, in 2012.
Imagine it's 2012 and the doctors come to you and they say, hey, we've got this new GlaxoSmithKline vaccine. RSV is going around. Do you want to take this? You're about to give birth to your baby. And here are the side effects. It could kill you and it can kill your baby. Do you want to take this?
Right. For something that, yes, there was an outbreak of RSV this year, but it generally it hits elderly people harder than it does small babies. And again, they would need to give me data showing that infants then exposed to RSV are less likely to get it. Well, how are you going to prove that? You're going to expose newborns to RSV and see, that's crazy, right?
Well,
right.
I think we learned during this last stint of vaccines that they don't have to show the stuff. They don't have to show data anymore.
Well,
it's almost like data doesn't matter.
Yes, but let's look at the data we do have about the vaccine that was approved today. This is the one that's approved mostly is for elderly people. So you have to be 60 to take it and above. It's called Arexvy. Here's what your local news has to say about it.
People in studies only experienced mild side effects like pain at the injection site. Children are also at risk for RSV, but so far they're not included in the FDA vaccine approval. There is currently an antibody treatment in the works for kids. Back to you.
I just feel like
okay, that dress is a no, and what she just said is a lie. What?
When I saw that still image of her, I was like, what is she wearing?
It looks like she's wearing a parachute. So no to that dress and also no to that lie. 11 people died in that clinical trial. So what she's saying is false. It's demonstrably false. Demonstrably false. Maybe she did not read the clinical trials because the clinical trials are clear, and I'm going to show them to you.
You don't think that the local Chicago news reporter that does the Medical Watch segments read all of the trial data and all of the information?
I don't know. That dress looks really hard to get into. That might have,
obviously,
she didn't iron it.
Hard-hitting news report. I'd say she read it all.
Like, Monica, we need you to do something. No. I'm sitting here studying these trial data reports for the last 7 hours. I have not left my desk. This is important, and she hasn't read any of this stuff.
Yeah. What are you trying to say, Philip?
But I was going to say that sounds what Clayton's describing sounds dangerously close to journalism, and they don't do that there. That's
the Medical Watch.
Not their bag.
She's on Medical Watch.
Okay. Incidentally, I commented on this YouTube video on that local channel's YouTube, and I linked to the vaccine trials, and I said, this is a lie. There were 11 deaths. Read this. Someone deleted that comment. Who do you think did it? I don't know. But we're going to look at the data because we're not lazy. Okay, so let's take a look. Pfizer is saying that the new RSV vaccine that was approved today has a 67% efficacy at preventing RSV. What they mean is 67% fewer people in the vaccine group contracted RSV than people in the placebo group. They do not mean to generalize this to the overall population. Well, they do, but you can't with these numbers. Now, if you look here at this chart, notice here that they have to administer 16,000 vaccines to prevent just 22 deaths. So see this group here, this first one, there's 11 in the first episode, then plus 1, plus these next 10, plus 1. So basically 22 deaths. Okay, not deaths. I misspoke. 22 cases of RSV were prevented in 16,000 doses. Is that a good number? You decide. Now, interestingly, they ran this test with 2 doses of the vaccine given 1 year apart. They do find here is a summary that the neutralizing titers, which means the protection against the vaccine, wears off in the first year. So the first time you get it, you have this high level of protection. The second time you get it, you have much less, although it says more than you would have with no vaccine. So clearly they're setting this up as an annual vaccine that they want to give to elderly people. And they show that the protection is less good after the second vaccine. So will it decrease every year? Who knows? What we do know, this is interesting, is that they studied these people for at least a year to give them 2 vaccines 12 months apart. So then why, if they were following these people for at least a year, why do the adverse events that they report only track these people for 1 month? You saw them again, ask them what happened. You could have asked, but you don't find what you're not looking for. So take a look here at this table that shows adverse event data for 1 month only. 1 month, right? And then what happened? Any lasting effects?
But they were following them for a year.
Well, we know that they saw them at least twice because they vaccinated them twice.
Right.
So they could have asked, like, hey, how'd you do with the first one? No, they don't want to know because, again, if you're not looking, you don't find. Right.
Well, maybe that's why the Chicago news reporter told us that the only adverse effects that they saw were just some pain in the localized spot where they got the shot. That's what she said.
Yes, she said that's what happened. But clearly in this chart, take a look. Let's look at these adverse events. Let's see. Serious ones, 103. Adverse events leading to death, 11. 11 deaths. Life-threatening, 24. Okay, so let's just add those two together, right? In 1 month of adverse events, we have 11 deaths and 24 life-threatening adverse events, meaning 35 people either died or almost died to prevent 22 cases of RSV. Does that ratio work out for you? Does that say full approval?
And as Dr.
Is that an awesome clinical trial?
No, and as Dr. Peter McCullough has said on our show repeatedly, the number of deaths associated with the trial would, like 1 or 2, would literally stop it cold. Would stop it cold in its tracks. So here you have 11 in a month.
Yeah.
11 in a month. And now we're approving this?
Right. And 24 life-threatening. So near-death experiences.
Okay.
Again, that's 34.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Philip. Yeah.
I just did the math real quick, but that's like where it says any event, that's 1,537 out of 16,000. That's a 9%, almost a 10%, almost 10% of the people that took it then in that trial.
That's awful.
Am I understanding the numbers correct?
Wait, so you took that out of the sample size of 17,000?
Of 16,000.
Of 16,000.
Of 1,500.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's 9.6%.
Yeah. So that's not great. You decide for yourself whether you think that's a great number and you're going to go line up to get it because you can if you're 60 and over. Pfizer is trying to make the case, though, that you need it if you're someone who has a weakened immunity because RSV is dangerous and kills between 6,000 and 10,000 older adults per year. So they're saying you need this if you have a weakened immunity. But look at the Pfizer press release about this today. Adults with weakened immunity may have reduced immune response.
My God.
You need it, but it won't work on you. But it could kill you.
How do these criminals get away with this at this point? It's unbelievable that they can get away with this.
Because Clayton, $17 billion per year and Magic Johnson.
Well, I was going to say, you answered your own question there, why they need Magic Johnson to do the promotion for this. They need to spend millions of dollars in marketing this garbage to people so that there's an elderly person sitting there saying, I hear this RSV thing is bad. They're going to do constant, commercial after commercial after commercial telling you that RSV will kill you.
Well, and I don't watch TV anymore. Like, I've not watched TV for years, but I was in a motel this weekend in the evening, and I was watching HLN, which is Forensic Files.
Oh.
And they were pitching this new HPV vaccine, and they were saying you need to get your kids this HPV vaccine so that they don't get cancer as they get older. Like, they're just preying upon the fears of these worse diseases. But it's like, and then I saw one. Oh, Philip, I told you about it, but it's like, it was almost all advertisements for pharmaceuticals. And it was, the one was like, it was a thing to make antidepressants less depressing.
Well, you remember when...
I was like, what?
Do you remember what are the two royals, Meghan and Harry?
Okay.
Remember when that Oprah special ran?
Yeah.
Prince Harry. And so all of the Brits never watch American television, but they watched that CBS Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan. It was their first big interview. So all these British people watched CBS for the first time in their lives in Britain. And they couldn't, and all of these memes popped up online the next day on Twitter because the Brits couldn't believe that they're like, wait a minute, Americans, this is your commercial breaks? Every commercial is for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And they don't have that. They don't have that in Europe. You don't see pharmaceutical ads on television. It's not, I think it's illegal, quite honestly, right? I don't know if the exact,
no idea.
But you don't see them on television, like trying to get you to call your doctor. Like, hey, Dr. John, I just was watching Matlock and, this shaky leg that I've got. I think I have what they just said I had on TV. Can you give me one of these shots? And that's how it works. And they end up making millions of dollars off of it, billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah. So
it's crazy.
Okay. Well, we linked to the trial data in today's newsletter, so you can read it for yourself. If you think that we are misinterpreting this data, please let us know how. But if you think this is an awesome clinical trial and you're going to line up for it, let us know that too.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.